It's,
Money for what?
well, somebody's gotta be there, damn it, 24/7, yeah, yeah. So,
I'm not a felon, so I'm good to go. Question the hell out of it.
yeah, I'm sure, yeah, yeah. Well, I've had a top secret service, I don't know, clearance, so I don't know if that's still in warranty or not.
I would hope not, but.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
They what now?
Well, I should know over here, so I'm trying to avoid. So,
Okay, fine.
instead of room.
Okay. Wow,
Sir, are we talking about strike county thing today?
yeah, yeah,
I put something in there that I think yours included it.
pretty strong.
Yeah.
Seems weird that it would take that long. Yeah,
Oh, I could do it. Yep.
Saw it in the paper, I'm sure.
sure, sure.
They have it in there.
Wow. We got a lot of stuff to do tonight.
And a part of me understands that. And the other part of me is like, this is not, even if you don't do anything, it's not gonna stay this way.
No.
I mean, C.A.R.E is a gift.
I don't even want to attempt.
And we'll become a better community in 20 years. If we don't. But now it would be owned. So, yeah. It's just, you can't get enough people in one place together to talk. That's the problem.
See if you guys finally came down to visit them. Yeah, yep, yep, this will stay straight in there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That'd be good if they could do that. And that should be legal, huh?
Well, that's what I told her. I said, I'm not sure if
The
that's conflict anywhere. And she said, well, as long as you're an employee.
That's coming up when?
He calls me.
I was wondering if the Baker Kelly would put that on there. Or I should get a fly or something.
After 3 or 4
All right, it's 5:30. I call this meeting to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All for say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? I have one question. What was the increase on the truck? Mark?
$2,800 on the tank
Okay.
2850? 2850?
2850?
Yeah.
I'm just going off the top of my head. It was an increase in the price of the paint.
Okay.
It went over the first of the year. And that's 2850.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Mayor's comments and open forum. If there's anyone who'd like to come forward to the podium, state your name and any of your concerns. Seeing none. Number 6, update on wastewater regionalization project. Jared.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. In your packets this evening is pay estimate number 16 for the regionalization project. The pay estimate amount is $89,062.50. With this payment, that represents approximately 87% of the contract, total contract amount. Just by way of an update, electrical subcontractor has been on site working on wiring, setting panel components within the panels and wiring. So work does continue, just not to the level that it did when the weather was more favorable. So with that, we are recommending approval of pay estimate 16 to Geislinger and Sons in the amount of $89,062.50. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that council might have.
Any timeline and when they're gonna start?
Actually, we're scheduling a meeting with them next week. The last time I did talk to them about a week ago, you know, they referenced the weather and how abnormal it is. So I'm not going to speculate at this point, but we definitely will encourage them to start as soon as possible.
How much underground work do we have left?
We have some gravity sewer to install yet. Not a lot of piping, but mostly generators, wiring, startup. We also have controls that need to be implemented, which is how everything talks to each other. So not a lot of underground left, but still some connections to be made.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
You bet.
Transformers? No word yet?
I haven't heard recently, but I know Xcel continues to actually do work out there, and I know they are making some progress, but I haven't heard from C.A.R.E recently. Mark?
Transformers are up on the pole.
Nice.
They're doing aerial, so.
Good.
At the main lift, they fired up Golf today, the power there, and they fired up Broadway today, the power there, so. Just night lights just to see if they had power, so.
So that's good news.
Any other questions? If not, I'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve application number 16.
Thank you.
Second.
Go ahead.
Motion's been made, seconded by Brandon. Any other further discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried.
Thanks, Council.
Thank you.
Jared.
Foley Area Care, Sarah Kay.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you for having me. I know I've been told that many of you have seen this slideshow, but I'd like to present some more updated statistics to the council. My name is Sarah Kellen, and I'm a volunteer coordinator at C.A.R.E. I'm kind of a new face. They hired me in November of 2022, just part-time coordinating, managing volunteers. So thank you for having me. Bill Colton, former board member and volunteers here with me. Care service area, we initially started in the Foley area, but now we're expanding more to Rice, Sauk Rapids, and even a little bit into Sherburne County, serving clients in Becker as well. So, go ahead. The main statistic on this one I want to point out is right now there are more seniors in Minnesota than school-age children, which requires maybe more support from the care office for community members. That's why you can skip the next one. Benton County has a very high percentage of seniors living below the poverty level out of the 14 counties making up central Minnesota, and that's a lot of our clients are homebound seniors living below the poverty level. You can pass that one too. So the benefits of care, when we have clients that we serve, seniors continue to stay in their homes living independently. which in turn, they continue to support local businesses and also pay taxes. We also help provide assistance to families who are facing these challenges with aging people, and then also it reduces seniors' reliance on state-funded programs. This statistic just shows a chart of our services. As you can see, we had quite an increase over the COVID, during the COVID epidemic, and now it's coming back down a little bit, but we're still continuing to increase the total number of seniors that we do serve. So this is from the last year of 2023. Thanks to many volunteer drivers. We have a couple in the audience tonight. Actually, we've drove over 28,000 miles taking clients to and from appointments, often doctor appointments, as well as needed grocery shopping. So some of the other direct services that C.A.R.E does provide, over 600 hours of just homemaking, chore services, grocery shopping, minor home repairs, and yard work. Over 700 hours of friendly visiting and phone calls. And as a matter of fact, I've been a volunteer for over 8 years, and that's the primary thing I do, is I sit at the kitchen table with one of our clients regularly, and to encourage her in her isolation, or not encourage her in her isolation, but support her in that. And then we also have a great food program providing over 700 hours of volunteers, respite services, as well as just coordination of services to clients. In 2023, over 200 clients were served by at least 100 volunteers, and the statistic there is over 42,000 miles were driven in the Benton County area transporting our clients, so that's a great number. And other volunteer services that we provide, we do have a committee meetings. We also have a board of to support the C.A.R.E program, office assistance, newsletter prep, and also fundraising events. I'm sure many of you have attended the pork chop dinner. We have a golf tournament as well for fundraising, and touching tables. You could pass that one by. So because of COVID, we're still kind of playing a little bit of catch up, because a lot of seniors were homebound and didn't go to their doctor appointments, so it's increased some of our services that we've needed to provide in the last year. We really support a multi-generational approach. As a matter of fact, when I signed up as a volunteer, I did it with my children, so it was a way for us to serve as a family, but as well we cooperate with community and church organizations, 4-H clubs, scouts, youth programs, and local elementary and high school students. Some local elementary students make like Valentine's cards for some of our clients, as well as providing Christmas cards in our C.A.R.E packages. We also have partnerships, grant funding through the Minnesota Department of Human Services. Benton County supports us in a number of ways, and thank you to the City of Foley for their financial support and storage space for the things that we use to have our fundraisers and things. Catholic Charities, and also Second Harvest Heartland. Dual Knights of Columbus, Lions Clubs, Sartoma Club, local students, and the Cross Center are also partners with us in serving our clients. This year we had a very special event with the teachers. They wanted to provide a work project, so we connected them with some clients. The client on the left, she had all these books in boxes for months because she had a bad back. She couldn't put them in her shelves, so she was reading the same book over and over again. And so our volunteers went in and put all her books up and hung her family pictures. So a real personal service there. Go ahead. We also work with the LIFT students at the local high school. They do some light housekeeping, and they also send out birthday cards to all of our volunteers, so they're a part of our program too. And each year we package over 100 C.A.R.E packages to homebound seniors, and we work in cooperation with Lions Club and Sartoma Club. And it's really interesting because there's several of our clients who have commented that is really the only Christmas gift they receive. So they're very thankful for those packages. Each month we distribute boxes to homebound seniors who are experiencing food insecurities. And so we have a handful of volunteers who coordinate that and drive many miles to distribute over 16,000 meals to seniors. We also have a food program in the summer months for fresh produce. Over 11,000 pounds of fresh produce are distributed to over 487 families in the county, Benton County. And Catholic Charities is also somebody we cooperate with, providing frozen meals to homebound seniors. We have 20 volunteers that drove over 9,000 miles this year to get those foods to homebound seniors. And some of the things we're doing to reduce senior isolation is we provide a monthly art class free of charge in the community here, hosted at the, they just changed locations to the New Life Christian Center. Senior Social is hosted by the First Presbyterian Church, where there's live music, lunch, and bingo. And the exercise class, we're working on kind of revamping that to meet the needs of the seniors. And again, we do friendly visiting and phone calls. Another thing you might not know that we do is we provide minor home improvements. Just had a client call this week, needed a threshold changed in a door, so we sent a client or a volunteer over and got that done. So we also do those services. You can pass that one. And as the volunteer coordinator, I always like to promote becoming a volunteer. Would you consider doing that? Or if you're a business owner, you could also encourage your employees to just drive. I know there's a local business here in Foley that lets their employees out just to do local transportation to and from clinics, and that's an opportunity for businesses to contribute volunteer hours. Just like any other program, we have normal expenses that we have to pay, so that's we're thankful for contributions from community organizations as well as the grant funding that we provide and fundraising. Go ahead. This will show you in 2023 where our money comes from and what supports our programs. Primarily, right now it's grant funding, but we always like to have the pie equal, so we'd like to work a little more on the fundraising and donations area. And something else we like to communicate is that there's no local donations that go towards payroll, that our grants solely fund the salary of the 5 employees that we have. And the vision is just basically that by working together with aging neighbors, the aging neighbors of our community will live longer, happier, and more meaningful lives. So just thank those volunteers that are out there. And we do a monthly survey with our clients, and we've found that our clients are very satisfied with the services that C.A.R.E provides. So I want to thank you for having me. And if there's one other thing I want to mention is there's a really good video that Carlton Communications has produced that's on our website, and I really encourage you, if you have never seen that. There's very personal testimonies on that video that I think would be just more avenue for you to understand the C.A.R.E program. And that's at careelders.org is our website. And I have some brochures if anybody in the audience has never seen them, and also a few newsletters if anybody's interested in learning more about C.A.R.E. Any questions?
I have one.
Yeah.
Do you have any projections on the level of services you think you will need in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you anticipate to grow, stay the same?
Yeah, well, one of those statistics, and Connie, our executive director, would be able to better answer that. But one of those statistics showed that there will be an increase in the aging population, so we'll have, it'll be necessary for us to provide services. Now, since I've been there as a volunteer coordinator, we have had an increase, especially actually the Sauk Rapids and Rice areas we're getting more calls for client needs. So I'm getting out there and getting the word out about volunteering too, because in order for us to serve those clients, we do have to have the volunteers in place.
Okay, thank you.
That's why we changed the name from Foley to C.A.R.E.
Because it's Benton County. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you see the projections in the future going out to other counties, and you said?
Actually, no, that wouldn't be necessary. There are 32 other programs like ours in the state of Minnesota. So when it comes to Stearns County, we would make referrals to those agencies. We've just creeped into Sherburne County a little bit because Becker, there seems to be a need there. And I'm not familiar with what program might be in Becker, but when I came on board, I was told that really of all the 32 programs, ours is kind of a stronger program, so people look to us for services more because of the way we're servicing people. Yeah. So I wouldn't say we would expand to other counties necessarily.
Okay.
We just make referrals to the agencies that are there. I think Holdingford has one, and I'm not sure where they're all at. There's 32 in Minnesota. They're called Live Well at Home programs. So, yeah.
We have a big need for volunteer drivers, because our number of visits to the hospital and different other types of medical things are growing, so.
Yep, and homemaking is another call we get a lot. I mean, I think I don't know if I showed the slide, but up to 20 rides per week we have to accommodate for. I remember we're being asked for, and I think in November it was like 4,000 miles were driven. That was the last statistics. So we are getting increase in calls for rides to appointments. Yep. And you know, our policy is a client can have up to 3 rides a week to necessary appointments, grocery shopping, those kind of things. Yeah. All right. Thank you for your support. Appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Number 8, consider ordinance 477 prohibiting cannabis in public places.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, as you're probably aware, the state legislature this summer legalized adult use cannabis across the state. In this legislation, there were little avenues for cities and municipalities to regulate cannabis use. However, they did leave an avenue for cities to regulate public use of cannabis. And that's what you see in front of you is an ordinance that would prohibit cannabis use in public places. Benton County recently adopted a similar ordinance. This ordinance has very similar language to allow for more uniformity in the enforcement of cannabis in public places. Public place is defined in the ordinance, and that closely matches the state definition. Just to summarize it, essentially a public place is an area where the public has access by right of invitation, express, or implied. It would not include a private residence or essentially the yard of that private residence, and that is defined by state statute. A violation of this ordinance would be a petty misdemeanor, which would mean it would be punishable by up to a fine of $300, and that would then be prosecuted by Benton County. So I'm happy to entertain any questions that the council may have. Otherwise, we'd ask you to consider adopting this ordinance.
Did we decide on ours that it wouldn't be up to, it would be in fact 300, or is that made up by the county itself?
That's actually state statute, so petty misdemeanors are only punishable by up to a fine of $300.
So there's no minimum.
There is, well, it would be a $50 minimum, and that would be set by the courts is that minimum,
Okay.
and then the $300 is the maximum.
Anyone else have a question?
I thought Benton County was just gonna go with the $300 maximum penalty.
So that would be the petty misdemeanor, is the
Yes.
$300 fine.
But it
So-
wouldn't be a $50, it'd be 300, no matter if it was the first one or,
So the language says a $300 fine. What I can say is the prosecutor does have discretion on how they might implement the fine. So that's why this language would say up to a $300 fine.
It's not enough, but I suppose the state sets it.
The state did set this. This is the highest penalty that we could impose for a violation of this. I should mention too that this is not a zoning ordinance. The city could have the option to consider a zoning ordinance in the future. Right now, we're waiting on guidance from the Office of Cannabis Management, who's supposed to release a model ordinance. That has not been released yet. So most cities are encouraged to wait on considering any zoning ordinances until that guidance is released.
Oops. Anyone else? Questions? If not, I'd look for a motion to approve ordinance 477.
so moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? All four say aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, 9, discussion approval on Xcel Energy gas and franchise agreements.
So, Mr. Mayor, Council, I'll have the attorney update on the latest discussions. We're still waiting to hear back from Xcel, so we've kind of been in a holding pattern until we have that. So maybe you want to, let you take it from there.
Thank you, sir. That is true. Unfortunately, I was hoping to have an updated agreement to present to the council tonight from Xcel. I have not heard back. I did meet with the Xcel attorney and their representatives to discuss the language of the agreement. There are some discussion points that we still need to work out. One of those being abandoned pipes and how we handle those and how the removal and the mapping of those, as well as restoration. So after work is completed, what is the timeline for restoring turf and other materials that they may have dug up? The relocation, the timelines for relocation and who may pay for relocation. Insurance provision, we would like Xcel to have some sort of insurance to help protect the cities, and then of course the fees. I believe we will be working with them on a flat fee arrangement. So we are decided on those final factors. I'm hoping to have something to present to you at the March meeting. If that is agreeable and the council approves the franchise agreement at the March meeting, it would be 90 days until we could implement an ordinance or a fee. The fee that we are discussing, though, would not actually be imposed until January 1st of 2025, and that is to allow us to have comparable fees to other franchisees in the city, and that is state law. We do have to have equal fees for all the franchise agreements that we have. So if there's any specific questions, I'm happy to entertain them. Otherwise, I'm hoping in March to actually have an agreement for the council to consider approving.
So any of these abandoned lines, is it just right away or city streets, or is it to the individual property owner?
So the mapping would likely just be of the city streets, and then the city public ways of how it's defined, so it would be essentially city-owned property.
Okay.
If we have concerns about piping into the private properties, that's something we can discuss. I can say Xcel is hesitant about doing much on private property, though.
Any other questions on this? Otherwise, I guess we're gonna leave this till March when you get some answers back from them.
Just to clarify, the council is still, we still want to proceed with that abandoned utilities language and keep pushing on that to make sure we get some protections. I'm assuming the council's still on board with that. I mean, we've had some conversations with prior members as well about that, so, okay.
Yes.
We'll keep moving, and we'll have the attorney make sure we try to secure something for us.
If there's a fee, does that go on the person's
Correct.
utility bill then? It wouldn't
Yes,
come
it is.
through us?
It would be passed on to the consumer.
So the fees range from like a gas or electric, like a $2, for the individual, and then it's higher up to $10, $20. I think there's $100 for the really large users. Those fees vary depending on your size of your company. The reason we look at franchise fees is because we are able to provide a fee collection from people that don't pay property taxes, like nonprofits that are exempt from property taxes. And also, it's a timely way to collect fees. When we have new construction, it can take up to 2 years for them to really hit the tax roll. So by collecting some of those fees, we can utilize those to offset some of those costs for like street undergrounding, maintenance, those type of items, and help offset maybe some of that property tax levy burden.
So any of the, if we're doing a street reconstruction or something to that effect where we're digging, then they would, if there's abandoned lines, are they taking them out at that time? You're not gonna just go willy-nilly digging, are
No, no. The language we're trying to secure is really if there is something that's conflicting, or if we're gonna be in the area doing work. We don't want those old abandoned pipes to be there.
Okay.
Because, we can have an issue like we had a few years ago where, all of a sudden people didn't know it was there.
Right.
It's essentially if we're doing work. We would not require them to, okay, we want all the pipes removed now. It's when we're doing work. We need to reasonably work together to get that done.
Sounds good.
Yep.
Anyone else?
Stay on them, Ashley.
I certainly will, thank you.
And we have 2 electric companies, right, for Foley?
Yep, so there's East Central and Xcel.
So is East Central when is that contract renewal?
It's in a few months.
It's in a few months, so
Okay.
we will be engaging them in a similar
Similar
negotiation.
language, fees,
Correct.
things
Yep.
of that nature, okay.
Anyone else? Good? All right. Number 10, chicken ordinance, Jason Brule.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. Yeah, pretty straightforward. The kids want to get some pets, have in the backyard, and chickens came up. I grew up on a farm with a bunch of animals. I was in charge of the sheep, and it's just something to teach kids some responsibility, give them a little taste of some agriculture, kind of learn about where your food comes from, that kind of stuff. Currently, under Ordinance 9, Section 1125, chickens are classified as livestock, which are not permitted in Foley. But under Section 1130, under small animals, things for dogs, cats, rabbits, I feel like that would actually be a good place for something like egg laying and show chicken hens to fit in there. Egg laying and show chicken hens in particular, not roosters. The roosters are the noisy ones. Really shouldn't pose too much of a nuisance if their facilities are maintained, clean. They really aren't all that smelly. The hens aren't too loud. You know, compared to like dogs, cats, that kind of stuff, very similar. So that's where I propose just putting that, say, extra definition into the small animals. If you guys have any questions about that, more information you want from me, I guess, not sure.
Well, first I want to say you really prepared for this meeting. And thank you, because that means we didn't need to,
Okay.
because you provided a lot of information. My first question is, did you speak with your neighbors?
Yes.
And how do they feel?
They're 100% fine with it. They want a few eggs, but they're fine.
So you're bribing them?
No.
I'm kidding. I am kidding, trust me.
Yeah.
Okay, and you realize there is debris from chickens.
Right, just like any animal, yep.
And it can be a stinky problem. I've lived in communities where they allowed chickens. Unfortunately, one of them also allowed roosters. But I find that you having a farm background, you understand chickens quit laying, and then you're killing the kid's pet or whatever. How will you dispose of your chickens?
The same way you're allowed to dispose of other animals. You can bury them, you can bring them to the, I believe the landfill will take them.
Okay. Would you be building a coop, or are these going to be free-range chickens?
Nope, under 1130, they're not allowed to be at large, so they'd have to be in some sort of containment. Yes, I would be building a coop, just a shelter with a fence around them to protect them and keep them in. And they would also, under 1130, they have to have a 5-foot setback, and also under 1130, they have to, the coop, the structure has to be kept vermin-free, has to be kept odor-free, or minimal odor, and also, what's the other part here? Odors, clean, rodents, and just overall sanitary.
How would you manage the vermin problem? I know one thing that attacks chickens are skunks.
Right.
And fox. I worry more about the skunk part because I've had them at my house.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, so putting up a sturdy net-style fence around them and actually burying it down about at least a foot or so, and then also piling rock or even burying rock around the outside will keep anything from digging in. And then also you put that netting fence across the top as well to keep any hawks or anything from climbing up and over into the fence.
So you're prepared to go this 9 yards for your chickens and your kids?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, growing up, we did this kind of stuff all the time, so I guess don't think anything of it.
I don't have a problem with it if it's just the hens. I mean, as in the examples, all your examples are pros and cons to it. It's not just the pros of it. You have the negatives as well, and different towns that don't allow it. I mean, Minneapolis allows it. You know, there's large cities that allow chickens in town. So if we just have to set up a whatever 6 or a minimum or maximum number of birds allowed.
Yeah, and that's actually under 1130 as well, no more than 3 animals.
So just 3 chickens?
Yep.
Oh.
Doesn't take much to learn. But then also, like I said, then it's under 1130, it's also enforceable if that odor does get to be an issue, the noise does get to be an issue, that kind of stuff. There are enforceable rules that we can.
Okay.
I do have a question for Katie. If she gets put in the position of having to make sure your coop is right, making sure if there's a complaint, Katie generally ends up with it on her plate, and I know she's got a real full plate. Katie, how do you feel?
That is a concern you'll probably do it right, but then we always have to look at the people who don't. And then that's gonna be where we're gonna get called to, and I can, and that's where, how are we gonna go out and, okay, you have, limited of 3, but you have 5. I mean, how we enforce that is where I don't know how we're gonna do, because I can't legally go on their property and count their chickens. And then I also get concerned, yeah, like you said, our plates are full, and I can hear a call, the neighbor's dog attacked my chickens. Well, then technically, per the state law, if a dog attacks livestock, which chickens would be by state law considered livestock, that dog would then be labeled as potentially dangerous or dangerous dog. So then we're going to have a lot of dangerous dogs in town. So, but like you said, you will probably do it right, but then we also have to look at the side of people who don't.
Or that push the issue.
Yep, because if you allow chickens, what about goats?
What about guinea
sheep?
hens?
Yep.
What about turkeys? What about geese? I'm sorry.
I have heard the goat issue and stuff and companion animals. We can say no to companion animals. We cannot say no to like a guide dog or anything like that. If it's a service animal, we're stuck, like it or not. But we can say no to goats. We can say no to geese.
That's what I was gonna say, like you just draw the line.
What if the council is considering allowing chickens within the city? A route that may be advisable would actually to refer this to the planning commission to allow the city and staff to come up with some performance standards. So we could establish first what is a chicken, what needs to happen at the coop, any setbacks that are required. And I heard a chuckle in the crowd, but
I'm laughing.
Yeah, I mean, it is true. There will be people who push the line on what is considered a chicken. Do we allow all types of chickens, or is there certain breeds or genders that we want to limit it to as well too? I think the city will also have to look at the licensing of it too, so we can have the ability to enforce it to make sure that the ordinances are being complied with if that's the route that this council chooses to go.
What does the council choose to go?
I choose to keep it the way it is, I'm sorry. But everything has been working well. We have beaten this issue in the last 7 years. I think this issue has come up at least a half a dozen times. I'm sorry, I mean, we did see during the pandemic with the price of eggs went skyrocketing, and I can see where people want their own eggs. But there are plenty of people out in the country that will sell eggs. I understand that children want to raise chickens. I understand that completely. But not in a city. Our police department is stressed pretty good right now with over 360 calls. I can't see having our police department have to handle animal complaints. We have an overabundance of cats that are taking up valuable time. I have nothing against it, but I think it should stay in the rural areas. I'm sorry.
No need to apologize. That's totally respectable.
I have no problem with the chickens. I've lived with them in Egan, I lived with them in Moose Lake, and I lived with them in Lead, South Dakota. I don't have a problem with chickens as long as we make damn sure we don't get roosters. And that's something that does come with little chicks, because when they go to sex a baby chick, you can get roosters, and you gotta be prepared to get rid of them.
Gary? I like your way of thinking. I like your reasoning. Good idea. But I'm thinking it's going to open up doors to bigger and worse things. If you were isolated deal, you're the only one that's going to have them. I think it'd work. That ain't going to happen. You're going to get them. Somebody else is going to get them. But that's just me. I'm sorry. But that's what.
What's your address?
358 Maple Drive.
Just trying to get an idea of where you are in relation to what size lots you have and your neighbors. So I'm at least familiar with the area. I'm with you on this one. Yep, I believe that you'd probably do a really good job. And unfortunately, we live in a society where someone's going to ruin it for the rest of us. And so therefore, I can't be on board with the chickens as much as I understand the argument for it.
Well, I don't think we need to take a vote, because I'd say it's 3-2 the other way. So, Jason, I appreciate you coming forward and presenting us this information.
All right, thank you for your time.
You're welcome. Department reports. Katie McMillan, Police.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I presented you with the stat report for the January of 2024. We had 364 calls, and just comparing it to January of 2023, we had 354. So we're 10 more calls than we were a year ago. Some of the calls where we are high in are harassment. A lot of those are stemming from the school. Officer Cody has been very busy, and a lot of them are stemming from social media issues. So, animal complaints, we had 10, and that is up from 2023. Increase in disturbing of the peace. We have a couple individuals in town that we dealt with quite a lot in January, with being loud and causing scenes out in public. So that's where that is at. Assists, we are in the miscellaneous, and you may see the miscellaneous account and say that's high. A lot of that is assisting at the school, where the school asks Officer Cody to help them with something, and that's where that is documented in, or assisting people. We've received a lot of questions, just general questions from the public in regards to certain laws of why we enforce it a certain way, and everything that we do is documented. Also, extra patrols were up too for the month of January. Coming up, we have February 15th is Fun with Police here at City Hall from 4 to 6. And the other thing is, we are aware, and some of you may have heard, of the elementary pickup and drop-off is backing up traffic onto Highway 23. We have seen that. I have been working with the superintendent, Dr. Perry, in regards to this situation and seeing what we can do. Unfortunately, it's not going to be fixed soon. So what I'm going to propose to Officer Cody tomorrow is that we go out there and try to educate the aides that are out there on how to get the cars moving and dropping them off faster to hopefully cut down on that backing up on 23. So we are aware of it. We're going to see what we can do. So other than that, oh yes, thank you. Underneath, we also have, I'm requesting council's permission to proceed with backgrounding of part-time police officers after our interviews we are having on Friday. We have 6 interviews scheduled for Friday, And then we will bring the final names and hiring back to council in March for the approval.
Do we need a motion, or we can just give our blessing?
Do we need to wait until March for you to make a hiring decision? Versus having a special meeting? I mean,
Yeah, since,
I don't wanna lose anybody for waiting to offer a job a month later.
no, we just want permission to start that process, cause it's quite an in-depth process. And since the next meeting isn't until March 12th, then we will bring the final names, but we can have some of that background legwork started.
So we can, are we able to offer the job and start the background check?
We're gonna just contingently on the background, but it will come back with the names, and you will have to approve the hiring officially.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just to try, there's a lot of paperwork with the backgrounding, and Katie has a lot of legwork to do, so it just helps speed the process up so we get somebody onboarded sooner.
I'm good with that.
I have a question not related to this one, but it's also for Katie. We're seeing increasing numbers. We're talking about adding housing, adding population to Foley. Is it time to start thinking, at least thinking about what at least one more full-time officer is gonna cost us?
Yes.
You definitely feel the need is coming, and it's coming quickly.
Yes, and with the new laws that are being mandated for admin to make sure, like, I have to get our policies up online, next month I'll be coming forward to you with a new updated pursuit policy that's changed, and so there's all these things that I have to go in and update. It takes time,
Which means you can't be a police officer on our streets at all.
Well, my take on it is we've only seen an increase in the numbers year over year over year, and we haven't grown as a city in over 10.
Exactly.
So as we do start to grow, we do need to think about actually adding additional support.
And think about it soon rather than later.
Yep.
I think it's something that we've talked about, Chief McMillan and I, about with the next budget cycle. We're gonna have to provide some options for you to consider.
To circle back, good, valid point, the suspicious activity, just high level, what kinds of calls does that range from?
Yep. Suspicious activity ranges from, a car parked in a parking lot and the business is closed, and so that heightens our, makes us look at it. Or if there's somebody just walking around a business the business is closed, that draws our attention. A lot of those suspicious also relate to an individual with disturbing the pieces, where he was out just roaming around and would go up to businesses and say, I need a job, and it just kind of made their spidey senses. It was odd. Or drug activity falls underneath suspicious.
Chief, who will be doing the backgrounding of the part-time officers?
Yes, with the new law where the chief is no longer able to do the backgrounds, I approached the county to see if they would be able to work with us. However, due to their abundance of hiring over there also, they directed me to the retired detective Jerome Call. And I reached out to him, and he is willing to be on board, and he is excited to do this. And I have worked with Jerome since 2009. He's very thorough, and I know he will do a great job.
And by doing this, we will be able to free up
Yes.
part of our officers' time.
Yep. I no longer, I can't do it anymore,
Right.
but, and then I'm not having an officer off the road doing the backgrounds.
Yep.
So it would make them out being seen more instead of being in the office doing the backgrounds.
How does the council feel that? I'm okay
Sure,
with
it's
it.
more economical.
Exactly.
No problem for me.
I mean, I'm assuming there's an expense.
Yes,
I mean,
there's,
right.
for his time.
Right.
We'll provide him with all the paper he needs and ink and letter and envelopes, but yeah, for his time.
I'll bake him cookies.
Anything else for Katie?
Cookies for you too.
What time did the interview start?
Interviews start at 1.
All right.
Council can sit in.
Personnel is the ones doing it.
You cannot sit in.
So let's select it.
How do you feel about the applicants you've got that you're gonna interview?
The 6 applicant, or there was total of 7. 1 cannot make the interview date or times and that I presented. Out of the 6, I would say 1 has experience, and I'm very excited that he applied. And then there's about 2 others that they're green, but I think they will be good candidates.
Anything else? If not, thank you. City Engineer Jared Griffith.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. In your packet tonight, I will kind of just show you briefly what they are, what I'm talking about. There are 2 figures in there, 2 different concepts. Recently in the last few council meetings, we've kind of talked about city growth, potential locations for providing that growth in our city limits. In January, city staff reached out to us to kind of put together a rough concept of what a potential layout would look like for the, I'm gonna call it the south side development. This is essentially just south of the compost site and the golf course and that kind of area of town. Correct, yes, that one. So that's concept 1. Solely single family homes. City standards are 80-foot minimum width, 125-foot depth of the property, 66-foot wide right of way. All that was taken into account with these concepts. The 2 that are shown, if you jump back to concept 1 there, the 4 lots that are shown in red are a little smaller than that 10,000 square foot or 10,000 square foot area of those properties, but I don't believe they are any smaller than the single family homes just to the west. Those were a little, those are a little smaller, correct? Correct. So I think all these are bigger, if not, or same size, if not bigger than those properties over there.
Golf course.
Okay. With that, so concept 1 shows 47 single family homes. Rough kind of looking at this here, in the middle there where our force main is coming down, we have a 50-foot utility easement in there, kind of the center of the page. So no homes can be built on that in this concept. That will be further defined once we have, get that into our system and topo and everything. But that is included in this property. High level, looking at some kind of wetlands and kind of signatures there. There are some concerns on those properties. In particular, kind of the southeast corner, that's kind of off the screen there. There's some signatures being shown in that area, and then also kind of the north portion of that, the northern portion of that property. And then one more kind of over by the two further red parcels over there, kind of in that area too. That are shown. There's potential signatures over there as well. So thoughts on that? There are definitely some spaces throughout the city property where ponding would be available to provide that. Also talking with city staff, maybe even a park in between in the kind of that center portion of that parcel there. Thoughts, ideas, but everything else is, I mean, like I said, these are kind of high level concepts. Figure 2 or concept 2, essentially the same layout, but it kind of provides a little bit of diversity in homes. There are 32 of those townhomes that are just, is it Poplar Place? Poplar Place? That's just
Poplar Place or anything similar.
Yeah, that kind of concept, that kind of footprint at least. There's 32 of those here, and then 35 of the single family on the rest of it. Same thoughts as far as the utility easements, potential ponding, wetland issues, park type concepts could be also involved. So with that, the kind of next steps would be similar to what we did for the industrial park. Kind of going through a design, so in your packet is a concept design agreement. Next steps would be doing a boundary boundary survey and a topo of the properties. There are 3 that are involved with this one. And then a wetland delineation. I mentioned there are some areas that are showing signs of wetlands. And then concept design, moving forward with a couple more iterations of what we are showing here tonight based off of the topo and wetland delineation report. And then finally, platting that property. We'll have to split the larger property, and then the final plat would have all the sub parcels into it. So with that, the agreement in your packet for you to decide on tonight, moving forward with this project would then be a total of $43,800. And I will take any questions you may have.
When you say wetlands.
Yeah.
Now, how big an area wetlands, and do we have to go through DNR approvals?
Yes.
And how do we work around if wetlands are tricky things?
Yeah.
And wetlands can really change.
Yeah, so we've already kind of established that with the local WACA wetland. But essentially what it is, meet on site, you kind of go through, do an aerial kind of review of the properties, check for any signatures, then you go on site, do some soil sampling, do a field investigations, and then you get together with your local, the DNR or the county in this case, and essentially agree to that boundary of the wetlands. Now, you can impact, there's a process for impacting those wetlands. Our goal is not to do that with this, ideally, but there is a form of mitigation where you can be paying to kind of impact those wetlands if you want to go down that road. But
how much do you feel we're looking at wetlands?
It's
very.
I mean, they're very minimal is less than an acre in my head.
You know, so one of the reasons this piece of property is desirable is because it is higher than a lot of other properties we have in the area. We specifically sent the concept to the local authority already, and they identified what they feel are, okay, these are kind of the big ones. They still need to do a full delineation to make sure, but stay away from this one, focus on this area. They try to give you guidelines just to help you kind of plan the best for a project. So that's why we've already been in contact with them. They've already reviewed some of these ideas. And then we will continue that, and that's why this design could get tweaked again. And luckily we do have some space out there so we can modify it a bit. But yeah, the goal is to try to avoid as much as possible any impact. And it is good property. If you look at it on an aerial, compared to a lot of other locations, it's a high, drier piece of property.
Does the decision on what you need tonight need to entail which concept, or would it be just?
No, I don't think.
No, the overall layout is kind of really what we're going to move forward with, but that's going to be determined by, like I said, the boundary survey, topo, wetlands, all that's going to be impacted and need to be adjusted based on those determinations.
I'd ask for council approval of this proposal, but with the contingency that staff will determine when we need to move to the next step, and we'll tweak this design as we move forward. We may do the next step and then have to do something before we move on, but we just wanted to lay out what this could cost to plan for this.
And have we had any discussions or any developers that have come forward that would take on this kind of project?
We have had some discussions, yep. But the thing is we also want to position ourselves, the county may have some possibility of assisting us with this as well.
Right.
So we pitched to them as well, and we want to make sure that we have a plan for them. They don't want to participate unless we have a plan.
Yep.
Any and all street design will include curb and gutter.
Yeah,
Required by ordinance.
I believe all local roads.
It's required by
guarantee
ordinance.
Yep.
We will meet our requirements unless we come back to you for a reason.
Don't want to go through that again. That's good.
Well, I think it's a great use of property that we already own. There's already development on that side. We're just extending it down and making use of property that would otherwise sit unused.
Correct, and the existing water and sanitary, both are acceptable in this area as far as extending to our property, so we should have any issues there.
So the road that the golf course uses, is that theirs, or is that just easement, or what's that?
They have an easement, so
Okay.
as long as we provide access.
which shouldn't be an issue as well.
Yeah.
Cause the red, we can't build in the red, correct?
Those red properties are the ones that don't meet that 10,000 square foot. Not to say we can't do that, it was just, I just wanted to point out which ones don't meet the city standards. But as far as access, they can come off of this road at any point.
So would that, if the road would go in how it's, would that gravel road disappear then?
South of the road, yes.
So they'd
Yeah,
have to use
you
the
would-
tar?
Yeah, it would be,
Yeah, I know what you're saying there.
okay, all right.
So
We
that,
would
that
have to
wouldn't be,
maintain an access for them
Right.
to use.
but they wouldn't, that would disappear and they would just use the tar from their back?
Correct.
Likely, you know, it could change
No,
slightly
I
too.
understand that, I mean,
Yeah.
just, we're not gonna have a shortcut through there is what I'm trying to say.
No, I don't think so.
So we're looking for a motion to, move ahead with the
Yeah.
surveying?
With the proposal, the 43,000 estimate, but we'd like to just keep it, well, staff will authorize the steps as needed. You know, but we want the council to be aware that we may spend up to that.
And how far or how close to the east to the compost, driveway is that? Like the houses?
Is that final property? I don't have that information. I will get that to Sarah and let you know.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Is it like butt up?
I know we're
No,
meeting
it
County
does
Road
not. We wanted-
access.
We wanted to have a gap there because potential that kind of contour of the property,
Okay.
where there was some wetlands, like going around, so we wanted to provide a buffer there. So that the edge of the screen is not that
Not the
compost
compost road?
No, and we do meet, I believe, the required access distances for the county when we did this concept as well.
When I know you mentioned possibility of maybe like a park or playground or something in that little spot, how far is that from having a, we'll call it a path to, what would it be, Lions Park? That's right? North?
You'd have to go through, I don't know, we'd have to look at that, cause
Just
there's
as a-
wastewater ponds.
Just
and-
as another option, I guess,
Yeah.
or a thought.
I don't know the development, I'll tell them the road right
Yeah.
here, but there is sidewalk there. So it's kind of extending this way up is a thought.
You know, we can get into that, like,
Yep.
we
Right.
just, we're real early in the stages and wanna move on to the next.
So you need a motion is what you said?
Yeah, we need a motion to approve that proposal.
Is there a motion to approve the proposal?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? The only question I had is all these little other blue polygons on some of these things you gave us, does that mean anything?
Which?
Oh, I think that's just.
The blue in these ones here, that's just showing where the parcel's at, highlighting which of the, all three different parcels.
Well, on the first one, there's another, there's
Is
one
that-
that goes
there's a-
around the,
That's just the parcels, the different parcels, it's
so that,
multiple.
the triangle's not
The
in
triangle
question.
is included in that, they're all the same parcel, it's kind of split in the description.
But we're
that's-
not looking at doing
No.
anything on the triangle?
No.
Thank you.
No.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all four say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you, that's all I have for tonight, unless you have any more questions for me.
Public Works, Fire, Mark Pappenfuss.
Hello, good evening. Love the weather, we're getting a lot of proactive equipment maintenance done that we've never been able to do before because we haven't had time, and building maintenance, throughout the city buildings. Working on our lead and copper inventory, which we gotta have done by law by October, and it's a very big project that we're making progress on. We'll learn more at school next month. We did make ice. It lasted, 2 weeks, and we decided to do that after we talked to you, being Sauk and St. Cloud were, so we did that. And, so that's done there. Anything on Public Works, I do like the talk of hiring, you guys talk about staff levels. We always forget, Public Works been over 20 years since we added any staff, and look at our duties have multiplied big time. So, just keep the picture broad on what you guys do, that it's been 20 years for us. I have a right to tell them that it's been 20 years for this, and please don't tell me to move on. Is that okay, council, that I tell you that?
I don't care.
Okay, thank you. Do you have anything?
Am I talking?
What's this FEMA grant application thing?
Do you have anything else for Public Works?
No, no.
All right, fire, we are doing a FEMA grant. We're doing a regional grant with Rice Fire Department. It's for replacement of 800 megahertz radios. One of the questions is, have we told our city we're doing this grant and will they be responsible for our 5%? We aren't done with the grant yet. It's open now. It's about a $400,000 grant. You take that, it's about $20,000 is the 5% split by Rice. We'd be responsible for $10,000 out of fire department budget. Don't need any action on it, just that I've told you and
Just
you guys said
available.
we can. So,
Did we do this before?
we did last year, we did not, yeah.
You didn't get it?
No, we've been very successful on these grants, so we're gonna do it again. We are using a grant writer again. So, I will hurry up and get done here for more important things, and unless you got something else.
One question, Mark, did you have an issue if we would have passed the chickens? Would you have an issue with all the waste being dumped in the compost site?
We would have had to look at what the rules are there. I don't know if it can be or not, being we're regulated by the state. I don't have an answer, so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Administration, Sarah Braun.
Okay, quickly, no meeting on the 5th because we have the presidential primary election. So we'll meet on the 12th, so make sure you have that on your calendar. The Tri-County Humane Society contract, I just wanna bring to your attention, we are, over budget on Humane Society fees. The problem is the Humane Society will no longer accept the $20 required contribution on the citizens' behalf when they come in. So they're charging us for the full thing. You talked about a cap problem, that's kinda what we're getting hit with as of late. My question for you, do you wanna continue with the contract being they will now not allow the citizens to contribute to that and be over budget, or do you wanna cancel the contract and make the citizens that take the animals in pay for it all?
How much
And you don't have to answer me tonight if you don't feel
How much are
comfortable.
you I mean, I don't know, what, are we talking $1,000 or $100
Well,
or,
if
I
we
mean,
keep
over
going, though,
budget is vague.
Yeah, if we keep going, we're probably gonna be, even if we could looking at a couple thousand. If we keep going, and maybe it'll settle down, sometimes it does. We just seem like a lot more strays are being dropped off, so,
For this year alone already?
yeah, one bill. So, if you don't wanna answer, if you wanna think about it, we can do it next month as well. And then the last thing, I just wanna let you know, we had a legislative priorities meeting today. They are going to address a number of things, or they're working on it regarding the SRO, regarding the fire being considered as far as the earn sick and safe, housing. There's a lot of different things they're gonna try to propose to fix this year, so there is some stuff in the works. They start this coming week in session, so I want you to be aware of that. And that's all I have.
Any old business? Any new business?
Excuse me, Pam Weisner would like to address the council.
That's in the second open forum.
We'll go right into second open forum.
I'm sorry.
It's all right. Name and address, please.
Pamela Visner, and my address is 600 Broadway Avenue North in Foley. I'm actually here to talk to the council and the mayor about the parade. Foley Fun Days is around the corner. I talked to one of the civic head chairs, and they said that the parade route was going back to its old route, which concerns me because I work at the nursing home in Foley, and that parade has brought an extra about 70 residents from our nursing home out to watch the parade, and to be able to take them to a place downtown is not accessible. It's not handicapped accessible over there. It's not able, you can't find that many volunteers to take that many people. There's about 106 people that live at the nursing home and at the assisted living and at the independent living. And for us to be able to transport that many people downtown, there's not enough staff. There's not enough people to push wheelchairs. There's not enough public bathrooms for them. There's not enough of anything. And I think that our citizens, our senior citizens, have helped build our community. And I think that we should have a little bit of respect and remember that they too want to go to the parade and want to be a part of Foley Fun Days as they have in the past. The last 2 years was amazing. They've gotten their own t-shirts, they've gotten to sit and watch the parade with their family. With having it downtown or not having it go past the nursing home, not that I don't expect it to go downtown because that would be the parade anyways, but to be able to change that route so it for sure went by the nursing home, so the residents of Foley nursing home could attend the parade. So that is my want from you guys, is to help with that, to make that a point this year, next year, the years after, because at some point in time, I won't be in the role I am in, and somebody else is going to be fighting this too. And I think it's important for us to be able to. I know they've offered us a video of it. That's not the same. That's not the same. So,
as a volunteer at the nursing home every Sunday, and whenever I get a call that they need it, I want every person in this room to know they deserve it. They deserve a day to sit and watch a parade and be outside. They love it. They love any contact they can have. And I'm encouraging any one of you to go and visit and see what I'm saying. These people deserve everything we can do. And this is a small little piece.
Very small. I also want to thank the Foley Police Department and the Foley Fire Department for them assisting with our power outage, which was more than more than I could have ever expected, but I do appreciate all your guys' help that night. We had to evacuate a whole wing due to smoke smell, and our fire department did an amazing job helping us to make sure that everything was safe for our residents. So,
who makes the decision on the route? Is that us?
That's gonna be a big problem, Mark. I mean, it's worked 2 years. What do you think?
Doesn't matter.
We get comments both ways.
Put it on the primary election, let people vote.
Maybe get people that will miss it for how many years and we get.
Sure. Is it harder on our public works, police, directing traffic, any of the above, or is it just simply one direction versus the other?
If we can limit crossing the highway 2 times, I'd rather only cross the highway once.
Yes.
I think the old route is longer and spaces people
Or
out.
I was just thinking, or we could do it backwards, start at the high school, go cross at the roundabout, 8th Avenue, Dewey, Norman, and end at Cedar. And then the fire trucks can go right to the fire hall. Do it backwards. And then you go by the nursing home.
It is not, I don't know that MnDOT they've gotten the applications, but I don't think nothing's been set on them.
They'll be lenient.
Well, I'd say it's further discussion, but
Yep,
thank you for
absolutely.
presenting. Anyone else to speak on the second open forum?
Sarah Molozoff, 238 Elm Drive. I'm just here to address rumors about the turkey hatchery closing. Can anyone on the council or administration confirm that? And what are your thoughts and views on another business leaving Foley? That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else to speak on second open forum? If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. All four say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Came through town and down past the fire hall. Yeah.
Which is right by there.
No.
Yeah, right by the nursing home.
What's the difference between
No.
what's the new road then?
I don't know.